focus over to the other big story of the day. After more than 60 years of service, the Indian Air Force is officially retiring its iconic MiG-21 fighter jets today. A ceremonial farewell will be held at the Air Force Station in Chandigarh, the very base where the first MiG-21 squadron was established. Marking this historic moment, Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh, will lead a flypast, fittingly flying the same aircraft that trained generations of Indian Air Force pilots, including himself. The Russian origin MiG-21 was inducted in the 1960s and went on to play a crucial role in multiple air operations over the decades. Its final sortie today symbolizes the end of an era in Indian military aviation.
The MiG-21, the sentinel of our skies. For 60 years, it has guarded the nation, training our warriors, testing their courage, and triumphing in battle. A machine of steel, flown with unmatched spirit. The Chief of the Air Staff, joined by Squadron Leader Priya, honors this legacy with a commemorative sortie. Swift, fearless, enduring. Every mission, every landing. A chapter of courage written into history. A legend bows out, saluted by generations. The MiG-21 departs, but its legacy will always remain.
It's a red letter day for us. This follow-on order of 97 LCA Tejas Mark 1 Alpha. This is a follow-on order with the fighters and trainers. And the significant part is that there will be 70% indigenous content in this. Compared to the earlier one, the indigenous content is much more. So we will be integrating the indigenous radar, indigenous EW suite, and many other equipment. So this allows us to continue our supply chain. So we have already concluded the follow-on order of 113 engines with General Electric, and now we will be signing the contract with them. So this is a very good vote of confidence by the Government of India in the work HAL is doing and in the indigenous content that we are building and with the ecosystem that we are building and working. So it is an excellent example of how the government is walking the talk of Atmanirbharta and giving orders so that this will generate jobs downstream, not only in HAL but downstream in all our ecosystem. And the technologies are being made by all these companies. So it is a very big boost for Atmanirbharta.
All right, so let's also tell you all about MiG-21 and what you need to know, why it will be remembered as a legend, because it has a maximum speed of over 2,237 kilometers per hour. As far as the service ceiling is concerned, it is 17,800 meters. The range is over 1,200 kilometers. It has a rate climb of 44,280 feet per minute. The armament up to 6 short-range air missiles. As far as the crew is concerned, it's got a single seat. Let's now quickly take you through the history of MiG-21. Its first flight happened in 1955 and entered service in 1959. Most produced supersonic fighter with over 11,500 units. It also served in more than 50 nations, was involved, in fact, in Vietnam, Middle East conflict, became the backbone of the Indian Air Force and widely hailed as the workhorse of India's air defense. It played a crucial role in the wars of 1965, 1971, Kargil, Balakot, all of these airstrikes, including as recent as Operation Sindhu. That is the badge of honor that the MiG-21 wears. Let me actually break it down for you in perhaps more conversational language, and for that I'm joined in by the legend himself, Group Captain MJ Vinod. Pleasure to have you on CNN News 18 this morning. Sir, So as I said, I'm discussing a legend with another legend. If you can break down why MiG-21 will go down in the annals of history for the Indian Armed Forces.
Firstly, MiG-21 started the true jet era, if I may put it, because when we, came out of the stranglehold of English, along with when the World War ended in 1947, we had some vintage aeroplanes, propeller aeroplanes, the Hurricanes, the Spitfires, and the old workhorse that we had, Wapitis. They were all uh, you know propeller driven aeroplane. The true jet age started with, not many people know, with Western aircraft like French Oregon and Holland Nat. They were all subsonic aeroplane. And like you correctly, covered, the supersonic fighter jet that we inducted, and at that time, mind you, it was one of the top-notch fighter aeroplanes in the world. Israel, America, the entire West was trying to get its hand or look at how a MiG-21 looks, and this was, the Iron Curtain era, when to get a photograph of a MiG-21, people used to risk their lives on U-2 bombers or U-2 spy aeroplanes and go over Soviet Union and try to take a picture of that aeroplane. And we had that aeroplane. This was the first aeroplane which had the air-to-air missile called K-13. We used to call it the Ka-13 missile on board. This was the first aeroplane which ushered in something called the close combat maneuver, the CCM tactics into Indian Air Force, and followed by when we inducted another missile called all aspect air-to-air missile, also called the A4M, the R60 MK. We ushered in the new tactics called A4M tactics, and this was all developed by an organization which is which is equivalent to, which is where the Top Gun fighters
Right.
of Indian Air Force graduate from, called TACD, also used MiG-21. So today, where the Indian Air Force stands as far as tactics is concerned, as far as the formidable force is concerned, is on the giant shoulders of MiG-21.
Group Captain, the MiG-21 also has been labeled as a war horse. It will leave behind a legacy when it comes to the Indian Air Force's, the strengths, like when it comes to, in fact, carrying or orchestrating our defense, when it comes to orchestrating our offense, also reconnaissance missions. If you could take us through, in your years of service, how would you remember the MiG-21, especially when it comes to all of these operations that we've witnessed, even the wars, whether it is the Indo-Sino War, the Sino-India War, or even Operation Sindhu?
A wonderful question. In fact, many of the aeroplanes that we are showing on the screen today, I was looking at my logbook. Most of the aeroplane I have flown in. So these are flesh and blood. I mean, these are images for people who are watching. For me, it is like extension of me, my flesh and blood that I'm seeing on the screen. So that itself is a very nostalgic moment. Coming to your question, um, like I was saying, it ushered in a new tactics to Indian Air Force on its shoulder, where Indian Air Force has grown from strength to strength. But Indian Air Force also became a multi-dimensional or a multi-mission Air Force because of MiG-21. So MiG-21 Type 75 and followed by Bison could do a wonderful air-to-ground role. I remember doing air-to-ground strafing, getting we have an annual event called the Eklavya, getting Eklavya. We get the mugs for it. There are many mugs in my house. Eklavya mugs for rocketry and bombing. And it does wonderful precision bombing. You know what Abhinandan did with
Right.
Pakistani F-16. So MiG-21's, the legendary MiG-21's stories are umpteen and probably not enough for a couple of days to tell.
I'm
And
sure
I'm
you
sure
will
they
agree that MiG-21 is a living testament of the partnership, the time-tested partnership between India and Russia, and that is something that is also reiterated by Prime Minister Modi himself as recently as yesterday when he lauded Russia for the kind of partnership we share was, I believe, at the International Trade Fair. But quickly to come to the retirement now that India bids adieu to MiG-21, that's going to happen in Chandigarh. As you mentioned, the Bison, 6 Bison variants will be part of it. If you can take us through why the Bisons, A, B, why Chandigarh as the location?
Yeah, so Chandigarh has been the home of MiG-21s for many decades. I remember 21 Squadron, which is now, I think, retired, was part of Chandigarh, and Chandigarh was a fighter come transport and a heavy lift helicopter base. So Chandigarh has been the kingpin of activities as far as supporting the entire North. Not many people know even today the C-5 Galaxies, C-130 Hercules, the Chinooks, the IL-76s, AN-32s, they all fly out of in the morning. It is flurry of activity in Chandigarh because those aeroplanes carry food and essential supplies to most of the air-maintained posts of North. So Chandigarh is like Mecca of sustenance of the troops for the entire northern and the Leh Ladakh region, even today. And MiG-21s were part of Chandigarh. Chandigarh was MiG-21's home for as long as 21 Squadron was there, and eventually, of course, it moved out and upgraded to Bison. So and easy accessibility for people who are in that part of the country or any part of the country to come to Chandigarh and witness this event. RM is, I think, must have landed by now. And it's easy for RM to come and go as well. So better connectivity, home of MiG-21.
Absolutely. They have proven to be the backbone for the Indian Air Force, so much so that they were called, I believe in the early 2000s, the Indian Air Force was also called the MiG Squadron because of our dependency on the MiGs. But perhaps that is also a reminder of the aging fleet of these MiGs, which is why they are now being phased out. It's sad to also see how they were for a certain time period labeled as the flying coffin because of the air crashes that were taking place. But several defense experts, perhaps you could also weigh in on the fact that this the entire MiG fleet has in fact served way beyond the span that it should have, and that this phasing out, should this have happened much earlier? How is India now going to take forward the legacy, or rather mark the beginning of Atmanirbharta?
Good question. In fact, MiG-21 itself is a testimony for Atmanirbharta. Again, not many people know. Most of the big MiGs that is flying in India are produced in India, especially the BIS. BIS was in production till 1986, and HAL produced it in India. So these are made in India aeroplane, and they are not made in Russia aeroplane, which was carted and brought in here. So that itself should tell us how well ahead of times we were in terms of producing aeroplanes is concerned. Of course, there is no doubt Tejas delayed a lot, and because of Tejas's delay, MiG-21's phasing out could not be done earlier. Be that as it may, it served as long as it served with absolute flying colors. There is no doubt about it, even down to post Balakot. MiG-21's proved their metal, and it is pilot's aeroplane. In a pilot who's completely skilled, this aeroplane does wonders. I have flown against more formidable aeroplanes flying in a MiG-21, and could get better out of them, including against Eurofighter Typhoon. I've written about it also. The Eurofighter Typhoon didn't know what hit him till the MiG-21. We went into a slow speed regime, and the Eurofighter Typhoon went like a rocket ahead of me, and we could shoot it down. It was a twin cockpit, and I had a Royal Air Force's commanding officer sitting with me.
All right.
And he saw it, and and he said, Augustine, this aeroplane is too good. That I felt very good.
Group Captain, it's always a pleasure to hear these stories from you, and I'm sure you join me in bidding farewell to India's most beloved war horse, that is MiG-21. Thank you so much for joining in on CNN News 18. Remember, India is going to bid farewell to this war horse at roughly 12 p.m. today, and we will bring you that live coverage. But for now, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to CNN News 18.